On February 2nd, 2020, I launched this channel. Along with making a trailer and initial videos, I also created a Twitter account, figuring that other creators in the space had one, and maybe we could connect there, since YouTube itself had no real mechanism. Further, one more place to talk shit about games online, which is the enduring mission, sounded like it could be fun. For the record, I did not and do not have a Facebook, Instagram, Discord, or any other social media. For the first two there, I never will. For Discord, until the current situation gets considerably less fucked, that is not on the table either. Anyway, sometime in early December 2022, I can't check the exact date, as the account is, to my knowledge, unavailable still, but shortly after Elon Musk had bought the company, my Twitter account was disabled for unclear reasons. It had happened in the past a couple times, for largely spurious reasons, and each time had taken me several emails to regain access, which was decidedly not fun. This last time, however, proved to be the final time. Twitter decided what they should really have was a phone number for me to continue using the account. There is no commercial website I would ever consider as an appropriate repository for that, let alone an increasingly shitty social media site. We were, as they say, at an impasse, and I concluded that exchange was not worth it for access to a site intent on fouling itself, and I just let go. Even though that request was too much for me, thanks to the fucking brain-dead drooling idiots of the UK government, things have become much, much worse. We see data breaches constantly, and from what I have seen, Ofcom, who will be enforcing this invasive nightmare, are desirous of offloading age verification to some black box third-party company, who will then presumably use AI to approximate the age, meanwhile storing all the information. This will likely result in a lot of spoofs and false negatives or positives, along with what will assuredly be a massive data breach coming down the pipeline, a la the T-app, spilling into the public sphere. Forget anonymity and embrace the docs, I guess. Even prior to that, will those third parties sell your data? Bet your sweet bippy they will. And you might argue that they would need your consent for that. That you should be the one to decide what to do with your own information. And you'd be right. But to which the response from both those companies and the UK government directly is, and will remain, fuck your consent and fuck you. Once that information gets out there, it can never go back to being private. The internet is forever. This imbecilic UK law, incidentally, levies fines and criminal punishments for sites that do not have this kind of robust safeguarding, which is entirely up to the whims and whys of Ofcom. But I have not found any significant penalty for data breaches where the information is out in the wild irreversibly. The UK evidently also wants to ban VPNs, so this is considerably less about protecting the children, quite obviously. All of this is more than a solution in search of a problem. It is a large-scale, unilateral violation of privacy. Now, one could make the case that only a moron would put all their information on an app like T, and specifically, that would be me saying you are an absolute moron if you do that, but also that doesn't only apply to T. This applies to any and all social media sites and apps, and to be crystal on this, the ostensible mission of the websites doesn't matter. If you don't personally know these sites or apps, and aren't possessing sufficient information to ascertain whether or not they have appropriate security infrastructure, don't put personal shit out there. Your government, whoever they happen to be, will not help you. If anything, they will take that information for themselves to use against you at some future time. Here's the glimmer of hope. Censorship really doesn't work, at least not long term. We have seen this, from the Larry Flint story to the work of Robert Mapplethorpe or Andre Serrano, to one of the odious ideas floated by the malignant PMRC of the 80s of requiring retailers to age-gate purchases of rock music albums, to which those retailers told them, in no uncertain terms, to get fucked. The government then decided it was a bridge too far to codify such a requirement, and the group was content with the label pointing out where music buyers could find a bevy of off-color topics such as long legs, boudoir photo sessions, condoms, and perhaps even curse words. What they presumably wanted was actually the opposite of what happened. A lot of attention was drawn to the rock artists and to the government, who was burning money holding pointless trials over fuck words and so on. Frank Zappa, among others, covered this pretty extensively, but if you're ever curious where the parental advisory thing came from, it was there. This was also at the height of the satanic panic in the 80s, which was going full steam by then and undoubtedly influenced the scatterbrains who came up with this. Around the same time, we also saw a brand new movie rating, the PG-13, which did not exist prior to then, because we had to shield those sensitive young minds from big old titties, meaty twats, and massive floppy cocks, biological parts which famously were not part of human anatomy prior to the 80s. It's kind of funny. When the internet became a thing, nearly everyone I knew in Gen X treated it as this really fun toy thing that we had better enjoy the shit out of while it was around, because eventually money would notice and come in and wreck it. The idea that it was the last remaining Wild Wild West was something we took full advantage of by amusing our stupid selves by making up dumb or edgy names for typing into IRC boxes to piss people off, and then cackling like mad drunken loons. In September 2016, the Skank Hunt arc of Gerald Broflovsky on the animated show South Park captured this fairly accurately, as they have so many things. The idea was watching people take shit way too seriously, then getting kicked or K-lined, laughing, and then running off to find somewhere else to do it again, and that sport lasted until PC video games started their rapid progress, and a lot of us just moved on to the next fun thing. Of course, it wasn't only that. You could have some actual good, interesting, and sometimes unexpected conversations. I once chatted with some guys who said they were the Wu-Tang Clan fucking around in the studio, which I disbelieved until they gave me all the secret codes to unlock the secret videos on the Forever album, which, at that point, had only recently been released. I've done 4 videos on the Stop Killing Games movement, and the current mess with the payment processors and the credit card companies is a more insidious form of censorship. What I find truly interesting here is that Steam, which is a company that makes billions, plural, billions of dollars annually, is apparently not shopping their current payment processors, but is instead kowtowing to at least one malignant actor of the group. Why? They are reaping a ton of customer goodwill sentiment over this, but we're missing a huge part of the picture here. By all means, keep banging on the credit card companies, all of whom hold a lot more water than any single payment processor. If you can find a way to stop using credit cards entirely, like Visa and MasterCard, all to the good there. But even if not, you can direct your ire that they are not standing up for their customer base to those companies and demand that their services not be extorted by some dipshit offshore fringe group or overreaching malevolent payment processors. But be aware that we are missing a huge piece of the context, which also applies to itch.io. In the case of them, they are a much smaller entity and probably don't have the weight to push around or the staff to leverage it if they do, but clearly we are not getting the full story. I've done this for a really, really long time. Fought the power, fought the oppressors, fought for freedom and for art. And I can tell you this, in the short term, it is going to be bad. The fight sucks and will continue to suck. The very fact that there has to be a fight at all sucks, almost as much as the censors and oppressors themselves. What I will tell you to do is resist. I'm not saying to do anything illegal, to break the law or subvert the system, but rather to not comply. If any social media platform wants private information I consider inappropriate for them to have in order for me to use it, I'm simply not going to use that platform, including this one and Twitch. I will click off and might never come back. Those sites rely on users, which is the one thing you can take away. You, as a user. At some point, once this newly strong-arming censorship bullshit proves thoroughly unworkable, it will lessen. But in the meantime, the best thing you can do is disengage. Maybe LAN parties can make a comeback and be a thing again. The bottom line is that their heinous plan only works if you stay and submit, so do neither. Leave and make it a point to tell anyone asking for this nonsense that you will return when they come back to their senses. The more pressure we can put on the fools to reverse this, the better. If you want a thing and you value a thing, then fight for that thing. That is all. As always, thank you for watching.